go live. So anyhow, we're going to get back into the topic here of covering 7 hidden influences on your diet which cause cravings and that aren't food. Okay? And because the things that impact your decisions regarding eating are more important than the actual foods and the food choices you're making. And I want to show you what those hidden influences are. So we're going to move on over to my little chart here. Okay, so it says, I'd like to blame frustrations for my eating habits. I'm not frustrated at all. Eating is just so much fun. That's what we think. A lot of us think, oh man, I just, eating food's so good. That's my problem. That's the real issue. But I just wanted to cover the fact that, maybe there are other influences that we're not thinking about. So the first influence that I wanted to cover here, oops, I guess my screen is too big. Shoot. Well, I'll read it out loud to you. Research suggests that if you stick with the behavior for 18 months, you'll build a strong tendency to stick with that habit forever. So if you can give yourself 18 months of working on something, I know it seems like a long time, but if you can work at a skill or something specifically for 18 months, which is, a year and a half, you're really going to be locked into that thing. So if you are working on something and you've been working on something for maybe a year or longer and you're sticking to it, maybe leave us a comment below and let us know what you've worked on and built in with specificity. Okay? And we're going to move on to our next one here. Whoops, whooper-doodles. We're going to move down to our next one. There we go. So here are the 7 cues: location cues, activity cues, people cues, occasion cues, sensory, time, and mood. We're going to cover all of them really quickly here. Location cues. So if you drive by a place, sometimes you can get cued with a craving just from seeing like the logo or seeing a grocery store that reminds you of a food. I remember back when I was a route driver, I used to stop to buy dark chocolate at Fred Meyer all the time. And then so when I would go to Fred Meyer and I would go look, I would just drive by, and then as soon as I'd see the place, I'd be like, oh, I want chocolate. Right? Why did I want chocolate? Because I always bought it there. And so my cravings got really big and large for chocolate. And so that is something to consider. If you're trying to stay away from certain foods, it's very important to remember that our cravings come from a lot of other places, including and not limited to our activities, right? So when our activities, if we're used to getting home and then watching TV, we may be eating while we are doing that, right? So remember, activities can be sabotaging us. Think about in your life, I want you to think about the top 3 places that you feel that you might be going overboard on your eating, and then look at what the activities are surrounding them. Personally, when I grew up, my family, whenever we went out on the weekends to go shopping, we kind of centered our shopping weekend around eating out at some fast food restaurant because it was an activity that we did, that we associated the two together. Barron says for the last 2.5 years, he's been working out at least 3 times a week, and now he's working out 5 days a week for the last 3 to 4 months. So you can see Barron has made it past the 18-month mark, and it for sure has now stuck for him. So he can be a testament to the fact that the 18-month mark works. Number three on here, people cues. Think about the people that you get around. There are certain friends you have that maybe trigger you to do certain things. I have an old friend that I used to grow cannabis with, and whenever I see him, we kind of trigger up the smoke. It's just an old cue. Or if you go see an old college friend, you more than likely will start drinking again with that friend. It's a trigger, right? It's people cues, and you have to be cautious of that because there are certain people that are going to sort of roll you into eating more worse things or making worse decisions. And so it's wise to choose who you have around you, with specificity, especially if you're working on something for this 18-month period, and you want to think about it that way. If you're working on something, work on it like a project, right? This is 18 months where I'm going to sit down, or maybe a year where I'm going to just sit down and dedicate myself to this thing. And once you've dedicated yourself, you're going to really seal yourself into that groove, and you'll recognize these cues more as well as you go around in this world. These cues are sort of obvious, but only obvious once you really start paying attention to them. Okay. Number 4, occasion cues. Hear that from clients all the time. I'm going out to a birthday party. I'm going to an event. We're going to go out to dinner tonight. And inevitably, they make decisions that they really regret because they're so trained to do those things at these occasions. When we go to birthdays, we're trained to have drinks. We're trained to have cake and ice cream. We're trained to have pizza, and you don't really want to be the a-hole who's not participating usually. But that being said, participating in your own life's health is super important. So we need to find balance and realize that these occasions can be manipulating us into making decisions that we don't want to make. And so oftentimes an occasion can be an excuse. And remember that it's a cue. It's literally wiring your brain to say, I should do this thing, right? It's like when you hear when you get home to check the mailbox, right? There's probably a certain time that you always check the mail. There's a cue for you to go check the mail. It's like, oh, yep, I got home from work. Now it's time to go check the mail, right? It's the same way here. It's a birthday party. Oh, your brain's like, oh, it's time to eat that pizza slice. You don't even really think about it. So remember, occasions can be dangerous. It doesn't mean go out and not have fun. It just means plan ahead. Okay. Number 5 here, sensory cues. Smell bacon, I do. Have you smelled bacon and all of a sudden gotten cravings, or smelled smoke coming out of a restaurant and gotten cravings? Sensory cues are a big one. And thinking about it in that regard, again, if you're trying to be cautious, keep yourself away from the senses that might overstimulate you. It doesn't mean that you're going to want to avoid things your whole life and be an avoidant person. Oopsie doodle. What did I do there? Uh-oh. Well, let's put me back to the regular screen while I chat. So, you don't want to force yourself to just stop things, but you just want to recognize that these cues are an actual factor in your life. And then that way you can take more time to prevent them just by being aware to them, because that's really what it's all about, is awareness. Number 6 is time cues. Have you ever just came home from work and then be like, oh, I guess it's time to snack? Or maybe like a couple hours after dinner, it's in your head, you're like, oh, I need to put some nuts in my hand, Baron. Or for me, 8 p.m. Every day as a kid growing up, we had ice cream at 8 p.m. Still to this day, I kind of want dessert at 8 p.m. It's a trigger. It's a time cue. So if there are certain things you're doing over and over again, like maybe when you wake up, you do something, or when you get home, you do something specifically, then there are a lot of times that are triggering these things, and you can pay more attention to that to prevent you from doing the things you don't want to be doing. Number 7, mood cues. Anger, sadness, depression, celebration, pressure. All of those things can affect our mood, whether we realize it or not. Hormonal cues, menstrual cycles for women. Mood cues are notorious for causing people to want to go find food and snacks for cravings. And when we start at least paying attention to that more, we can do our best to sort of alleviate and prevent those things from happening. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to run us back up here to our number 7, all 7 of them, the 7 cues: location cues, activity cues, people cues, occasion, sensory, time, and mood. That means things like activities, Doritos with friends, TV watching; people cues, eating with buddies; occasion cues, birthday parties, weddings, parties, clubs; sensory cues, the smell of bacon, maybe you see candy in a display. And then time cues, bowl of ice cream at 8 p.m. for me, and then waking up, there's certain cues that I have, like get coffee, and then there's our mood cues. So keeping those all in mind, I think that really is going to help you stay aware to some of the things that might be sabotaging you along in your diet here. With that, we're going to move over to our habit roll call, moving on in and forward through here. The habit roll call check-in. We're going to go over here to the momentum morning check-in section. Let me get it going here. Baron, thank you for being with us this morning. There's your check-ins from yesterday. You have your check-in from today as well. So we'll read yesterday's. Eating was a 9 out of 10. Squats are back on 11 from yesterday. Weight down. Actually, I read yours yesterday. I don't need to read yours again. Mike Wassman, day 13 of meditation today. I'm thinking I want to start making a habit of journaling. When Tim Ferriss, it's Ferriss, brother. Tim Ferriss interviewed many of the world's top athletes and performed for his books, Tools of Titans. He said many of them exercise, meditate, and journal every day. I've already made a habit out of working out every day. Now I just need to lock in meditating and journaling. Well, you seem like you're pretty far ahead on the meditation habit, so keep it up. I encourage you not to get ahead of yourself like I've done in the past and try to do too many things. I would probably say that journaling is very important, but don't let that become the primary thing that you're building instead of the meditation. Keep meditating. I would suggest perhaps just add the journaling on post-meditation, because that's a great time to do it. That's when your brain has thought the most. That's when you should be journaling. Evelyn, good morning. I got my stretches in, 35 kettlebell swings, 18 clean and lifts, and 7 toe touches. Thank you. Thank you. Here's another one of these from Mike. I don't think I got yours. Iggy, as soon as I got up this afternoon, I did my meal prep for the night and got down to business with my lifts and push-ups. 13 deadlifts in a row. No jokes on the lungs. 13 deadlifts, like I said, usually when you get 12 and up, that's when you really start burning. There's Iggy Graham right there doing deadlifts as proof to everybody in the squad that we're getting it done here with the Stick to It Fit group. Oh, I see your check-in now, Evelyn. She got in her 36 kettlebell swings, 19 clean and lifts, and 8 toe touches. Harder today, but got it done. It is harder some days. I only had enough time to finish half of mine this morning, and I need to do the rest after we're done here today because I got up a little bit late. I stayed up late last night writing jokes with a friend of mine. Let's see. Thank you for making this. Also, what today looked like. Samantha, thank you for thanking me. But again, it's really about you guys, so thank you for being here. Again, all my rings are closed. Thank you for these beautiful check-ins. I really appreciate you guys when you give me a full proof like this. I think it's helpful for the whole squad to see that we're all participating and then seeing people's check-ins. You can see she got in her 3.5 miles there. Love it. Oops, I keep hitting the escape button to get out, and I have that as a trigger to change my screen. I should switch that button. It's kind of messing me up. Alrighty, back over to the check-ins here. Holler if you can hear me. Holler if you can hear me. If you're with the squad this morning, make sure you're putting down what you're working on in the comment section below. Let us know your habits. If you're watching this later, let us know what you're working on so we can shout you out as well, and you can make your journey to the Stick to It white belt and maybe make your way to the black belt, which are coming soon so I can show you them to you guys. Okay, Regina checked in. She said, I lost my momentum. We'll have to start over. Oh, that's a sad language. Still at 10 pounds weight loss. So let's look at this whole thing as a whole, okay? If you had to start over, you would not be at 10 pounds down right now. You worked hard to get there. Let's not discredit your hard work for that. Losing your momentum doesn't feel good, though, but that's why we have the momentum morning. And the fact is, you're still here. You checked in. And if you really lost your momentum, you wouldn't even be here posting. And that's the essence of what it's about here. If you miss a couple of days, we are trying to encourage you to be as consistent as possible to work your way towards 21 days in a row for the belt. But, they added, I was going to use the word irregardless because I talked about it with a buddy yesterday. They added the word irregardless to the dictionary, even though it means the same thing as regardless. It's so ridiculous. But regardless of that, if you have missed a day or two or whatever, as long as you have came back, and you haven't missed more than like 3 to 5 days in a row, and I don't use that as a golden rule, but you really do want to show up every day. But if you happen to miss a day or 2 days or even 3 days, if you've been showing up here, it's not the end of the world. It's really not, and it's important to forgive yourself if you've made the mistake. For me personally, I literally have a sign in my shower that says self-forgiveness shower. It's really cheesy, but when I'm in there and I'm showering, sometimes when I read up and I look up at the sign when I'm showering, it says self-forgiveness shower, and I actually kind of get the pressure off of myself. I kind of take it easy and say, hey, maybe you didn't have to put that much onus on yourself to own everything today, and that you can work on things in one day at a time. You don't have to be so successful all in one day. That's just anxiety taking us over, and we don't recognize anxiety when it's there sometimes. I think I had a couple more check-ins in random locations, so I'm going to go peruse this group page real quick if you guys are still with me this morning. I know I saw another check-in or two somewhere like down south here. From somebody. Brandy, that was yesterday's. So I didn't give you credit from yesterday's because you checked it at a different spot. Same thing with Brian. So Brian and Brandy, I want to check you guys in on this one too. So Brandy, she said, I've done some evening yoga the few nights and today felt limber enough in the morning to get a morning session in too. That was yesterday's post. So thank you for posting that, Brandy. I missed that one yesterday. And then Brian, we're back. We did some swings on vacation and we walked every day and we are ready. I did a training session with Brian and Justin, and they did deadlifts yesterday because they just got weights in. So the equipment is finally becoming available and you can buy home equipment again. So that's exciting. I think that's our check-ins for the day. That might be all of them. I think Jonathan said he was going to do a hiatus from social media, so he didn't get a check-in for today, but that's okay because he checked in with me, and that's what it's about. It's about checking in with yourself and with the coach. Okay, so that's today's habit roll call. Today we covered the hidden cues that might be sabotaging your diet and causing cravings, and really the more important aspect of that is to just recognize that those things are there. That what happens is that when we oops, I gave myself one of those. When the influence is invisible, and there are like 80% of the factors. I'm making up this number, but 80% of the factors that make up how you make your decisions, probably way more, are actually like kind of intangible, and you don't really grasp it. It's not so obvious. And then so the combinations of all these factors, who you interact with, the things you're watching and listening to, the things you've just done in the past, what events you're going to, all of these things shape how you eat. It's not just what foods you put in your mouth. And so when you start to intelligently design all of those things and pay attention to all of those things, you can really engineer a world around you. Not saying like you have to nerf your world or make it so soft that you can't, you don't have any freedom, but just to recognize those cues that are going on around us and to say, oh, maybe there are more things that are influencing my decisions than I recognize. Okay, so Brandy typed in yoga sessions in last night and this morning, building consistency. Yes. Beautiful. Everybody's killing it. You also checked in a couple seconds ago. I didn't see that. So a thumbs up. And she said she's been meditating every morning for 10 to 20 minutes now for 2 years. Wow, Brandy, that's awesome. That's a long time. So you probably would agree then if you've been doing something for 16 months, it stays pretty sticky. Maybe you could let us know what kind of positive effects you've seen from meditation, because we've seen a couple other people in here have as well. So today, I think that's going to end us with our messages for the day.
You gotta stick to it to get to it. Work is
Get out there.
play.
Get out there and don't let them bring you down, because we know.
Comes first.
And that means there are no suckers out there that can take you down. The happiness comes first. If someone's trying to frustrate you, if someone's trying to be a succubus of your energy, if someone's trying to take it away from you, or some vile thing happened, or some injustice happened, don't let it steal your happiness. You can still be angry about that thing, but deep down on the inside, that happiness should be the flame that's burning hotter, right? There's no point in sabotaging yourself by borrowing your own happiness to sort of inflict the suffering that you think others should have just because of an injustice at some point. That's a big mouthful for saying, we're all just humans. We're all just humans. Practice forgiveness, and including to yourself. Much love, everybody. Stick to it to get to it. That's how we do it here at Stick to It and the Stick to It Squad. This has been another Momentum Morning.